Welcome to Slasher Sunday. So tonight I watched Sweet 16, which is currently streaming on Tubi, which about an hour into this, it didn't even have a commercial yet. And I was like, is this ever going to have a commercial? And then I got three within like 5 to 10 minutes of each other. But they were all like 10 seconds long. And one of them wasn't even really an ad. It was just like John Cena telling people to fucking love each other. So damn, if I don't know, I'm sure Tubi has more commercials on certain movies than others, but fuck, man, the quality was solid. The price, which is free, and all you got to do is sit through some commercials for a great library of content. I think it's a great app. So absolutely check out Tubi. I have it on my Xbox One. I'm sure you can download it in plenty of other places, but it's definitely on Xbox One. I can attest to that. So highly recommend that. I saw a lot of cool movies on there just when I was about to search for Sweet 16, which I saw from Just Watch, the Just Watch app, which you definitely need. And yeah, so this movie was pretty terrible. I had never seen it before. And all I remember from back in the day was the poster. And not sure what else I would remember since I never saw the movie, but I'm just saying, I don't remember fuck all about this except for I saw the poster when I was a kid, like cover art poster, should I say, and that's that. And since then, it's just kind of laid in my IMDb watch list, which is like fucking 1,000 films deep. And I saw it was on Tubi, so why not? So starts off with a cowboys and Indians type fight. And the Indian in this movie is Don Shanks, Michael Myers from Halloween 5. And he plays the character named Jason. Uh-oh. Plot twist. Michael plays Jason. And that was okay, because this movie started off and it had some charm. And I was like, oh, I think this is kind of fun. This is kind of good. But as it dragged and dragged along, there was still charm there. And I think a lot of the charm comes from some of the characters, like Bo Hopkins' character. There's the sheriff here. I really liked him in this. We've got Chris from Friday the 13th, Part 3, one of the most beautiful final girls in slasher movies. She plays the character Marcy, who is the sheriff's daughter. I liked her. I liked the brother was fine. John Shanks I thought was great in this as the Native American who's kind of shouldering all the blame in the town, because there's a line in this movie later where it's like, are you telling me a white person could be responsible for this? Jesus Christ. The 80s. Woo, different times. Movies now wouldn't even dare attempt to say something like that unless they were just trying to be funny. They're selling this as dead serious. All right. So then Jason walks outside after the potential, well, there is a brawl that goes on, but a potential knife fight. He pulls the knife and the other guy breaks a bottle. Let's go to town. And he leaves, and then Melissa, who gets her own theme song in this a couple times, and it's cringy horrible. Like, it is so terribly placed. People are saying Melissa in the scene as Melissa's song says Melissa. It's like, Melissa. And then characters will come in, Melissa. They don't sing it, but it's like, what the fuck? I'm hearing two different Melissas. They were like, oh my god, there's a song that we have the rights to, and it's called Melissa? Or did they actually pay for the rights for this song? With the budget of this film, I think they just found one that they could use, or they asked someone to write it for them, somebody's best friend, and was like, can you write me a song really quick over the weekend? The character's name is Melissa. Run with it. Oh man, it was so bad. This is where I wish I had the ability to insert clips from the movie in here, and I would, honestly, but my laptop broke down. I was just thinking about starting to actually inject some footage into my stuff, and I was really excited about it, and then the computer crashed. So yeah, about that. I can't afford to get a new one right now, not even close. So I don't know. It's going to be a long while, and my podcast is hurting from it greatly. And all right, so then Jason walks outside after the scuffle, as I said, and Johnny, this dickhead that was in the bar with a teenager, a high schooler. I guess the drinking age here is 18, maybe, and this kid is a senior. I don't know, but he walks out. I don't know if that guy's supposed to be a teen. I can't imagine he is because he looks 40, but I don't know because Chris from Friday the 13th Part 3 is 24 years old. I mean, that's not 40, but she ain't fucking 17, 18 or even close because Marcy, or Marcy, keep calling her Marcy. Freaking, she has her own damn song in this and I can't get it right. Melissa is 20 years old and she's supposed to be playing a 15 about to be a 16-year-old girl, but that's typical for these times. But it is funny because there's gratuitous nudity with her, and I'm not sure many films today would say a character's 15 and then, like in America, show her gratuitously naked. I don't know. Would that happen? I mean, we're supposed to, as the audience, think that she's 15, and then we're subjected to racy, sultry scenes with her in the shower, where she's like rubbing her body down with soap, and then she's like running into a lake and being all sexy, and there's like sexy music, and guys are in the background, older men, you know, in their 30s, 40s, or like almost, you know, panting and fucking jerking off right there to her, and I'm like, wow, this movie is, yeah, something else. Some Lolita shit going on here or something. But the girl's 20, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, I don't know, full tits and bush and everything for a character we're supposed to think is 15? Interesting. Would they get away with it today? So I don't feel like anything plays into anything in this movie. Like, the whole ancient Indian burial ground, the 5 sacred knives that are worth a lot of money, and Jason ends up with them, and you know, the dad of Melissa here, who sounds just like Dr. Loomis from Halloween. In fact, they should have got him to do the voiceover work for H2O, because whoever did the voice work, and that's terrible. This guy sounds just like Loomis, and he's, you know, a well-known actor, and he lived till 2015, so there was really no excuse to not get him. Outside of, I'm sure, people weren't referencing or going back and looking at Sweet 16 when they were trying to come up with someone to do the voice for Loomis. Like, I know who would be perfect. I just watched Sweet 16 yesterday. Nobody fucking watched Sweet 16 yesterday. Except for me. Yikes. Because technically I did. It was at midnight. It finished around midnight. Now it's past midnight. So technically, yes, I did watch it yesterday. And I wish and I'll probably have forgotten about it by, I don't know, by the end of this review. Shit, I might not even remember it by the, middle of this review. Speaking of which, where the fuck am I? So, the sheriff, of course, brings his kids along on a missing persons, or not even a missing persons, but a abandoned truck and possible missing persons report. And he brings her there, and his daughter, played by Chris, whatever the hell her real name is, she's Chris from Friday the 13th, Marcy, she's really into detective novels. She's like reading this. It was The Gardener with the Rake. She's like reading some Clue novelization, Mexican edition. That was racist, I suppose. I don't know, but it was funny. All right. And this movie's fucking racist, so I guess it definitely fits. But yeah, he brings her along, and she's just like trying to play detective. Then she finds his dead body, and he then takes her to school, and is like, "All right, honey, have a good day." And he also threatens to spank her and her brother in this movie. They're like late teens, and her brother was at the bar, so he's 18 years old. I mean, still spank you when you're 18? I mean, you have a son and he's getting out of line. I mean, a spanking? Really? Okay. But yeah, just, all right, honey, time to go to school. Sorry you saw a dead body of a 40-year-old classmate of yours, or maybe a teacher, fucking parents of one of your kids. I don't know what the hell that guy was supposed to be, but he was making out with Melissa in the back of a truck because Melissa is easy. She's going around just trying to sleep with anybody, and anybody she comes into contact with dies. But that doesn't keep what's this freaking Hank, right? Hank, the sheriff's son, from coming after her anyways, even though he's like right in the pipeline of information of like everyone who gets next to her dies. But I guess Melissa's so hot that guys just risk death to possibly get in her pants. I mean, I love women, man, but I would not go after a woman that I think I'm gonna die trying to obtain. Unless it was Emma Roberts. But outside of that. And also, Marcy here, you know, Chris's character. Chris, I keep calling her Chris. I love it. I wish I knew what her fucking real name was, but it's Chris. She makes a comment that Melissa here is just gorgeous and that she could have anybody. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like Chris should have played this role because she is stunning. She is seriously so fucking beautiful. And the girl who plays Melissa, she's attractive. I'm not going to say she's not an attractive girl. She is. But I just feel like swap the roles and Chris. But Chris just has a better playfulness to her. And I think she plays her role better. And there's such a hilarious exchange between Melissa and Marcy in this, where she's like, you gotta be such a fucking bitch. Something along those lines. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I don't think she says fucking, but something along those lines. And then Melissa turns away and walks, and then Marcy regrets immediately what she said and walks over, and she's like, man, why do you gotta be so tough? And Melissa turns around and she's like, why do you gotta be so good? It's cringy. The dialogue, the editing, the sound design, like all that stuff is piss poor, but to be expected in these kinds of movies. But still, it was noticeable even for a movie like this. The way the music transitions out, it just hard cuts like to the next thing. Oh, I love old films like this to see how poorly these films were constructed back then. To be fair, though, they were editing these things much differently. They didn't have them on their computer, so they could just easily fade the music out and whatnot. But it's still terrible. And a huge issue with the film. Huge issue. We get tits. I mean, we get tits on a fairly hot 20-year-old girl. So I mean, good there. But the other thing we need in slasher movies, gore, the slashing. Right? What's slashing in this movie? Nothing. The fucking gore, the kills, awful. Not done off screen, but they might as well have been. It's just like, a knife like in a hand going in, and it's just like blood, and the guys are laying there and there's some blood on them. One guy gets stabbed in the back. Melissa's like second date, and then he just turns around and he has blood like all over the front. I guess if it went through him and it soaked through fast enough, but it's like stabs in the back and he turns around immediately, has so much blood on the front of him. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? But I guess, yeah, she stabbed through him, but there's no tear in his shirt from where this knife would have come through. I don't know. Overthinking, obviously. As I said, like, the sheriff, we find out he's half Native American here, so that's why he's on the native side. And the whole Native American thing does not play into this film at all. It's a complete red herring. Like, not only the characters red herrings, but the entire like plot device. Just even having Native Americans, anything to do with Native Americans, the knives, the ancient burial grounds, anything. It's all completely pointless. Completely pointless. And the fact that the sheriff's half Native and all that, pointless. I was like, oh wow, that really doesn't matter at all. Okay. And somehow Melissa at the end of this movie is holding one of those really expensive knives. And they don't even really address how Jason got them. He dug them up. I guess it's his own right because it was his family. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Because this guy escapes from jail later in the movie when he's pinned for the murders and beats the shit out of a deputy, knocks him the fuck out, and locks him in a prison cell. How he gets out, fuck if I know. I'm guessing the sheriff goes back there and lets him out, or somebody does. But when they meet up at the end of the movie, no exchange. He's just sitting there bandaged around his head, and not only does the sheriff not apologize to him for imprisoning him, but then Jason doesn't apologize to the deputy or anybody or have to answer for beating the shit out of and escaping jail. It is hilariously stupid. He's just sitting there with like some gauze around his head, and he just stares at the deputy when he walks up, and there's no like animosity. There's no uncomfortable tension between them of like, you beat the shit out of me and locked me in a jail cell. Shouldn't you be doing something about this guy? Not even a throwaway line. Nothing. Not even a humorous moment. Like anything. It's just like, oh, hey, all right, so we're back to normal. Okay. And the fact that he breaks out of jail, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but the fact that he breaks out of jail to then go hunt down this guy because he thinks he killed whoever his grandfather's dad or whatever, why he's following Melissa and them around, what does that have to do with anything? He's looking for that guy. Did he know that that guy was going to come and spy on Melissa as she went skinny dipping, and then he was going to confront him there? And what took him so long once he found him, because those guys were sitting there for a while and he was following them, so he was just jerking off to Melissa, and he was like, all right, now that I'm done, I can get to the killing. It's just it's there purely as a red herring for sure. I get it, but how they try to even explain it in the film, I can't even begin to imagine. So it's just so dumb. And of course movies like this are supposed to be dumb, but because I wasn't enjoying it, it just made that shit even dumber. And so then these guys decide to rape a girl on her sweet 16, and the guy knocks the girl out when she's fighting them, and the guy's all mad. The other guy's all mad at him. What the hell did you do, man? Why'd you do that? I'm like, wow, really? Like, what are you guys doing right now? Knocking her out's too far? What? You need her conscious when you're raping her? Like, what is the reasoning here for why you're so angry with your friend hurting and harming this girl as you're both pulling on either side of her, trying to take her clothes off while you just freaking watched her skinny dip on her 16th birthday when you guys are in your 40s or fucking later. It's such a hilariously stupid scene. How the killer missed Hank when she went to stab down into him. How do you miss this much of a space when you've just brutally murdered like 4 other guys, no problem, and hit them dead center? She has some Michael Myers aim. She should go talk to Don Shanks about that. When you go, yeah, I don't know. And then, we find out that the killer is Joanne the mom. So I thought it was the dad. I was thinking, no, it's got to be the dad. I was close as the mom. And then there's this total psycho, like 1960s psycho exposition scene at the end where the dad and the sheriff are hashing it out. And after the killer stabs herself to death, which I don't think she has one of those knives, does she? If she does, then that makes sense of where she got the knife and how the knives play in. I'm not really sure how the knives still play in, but she has one of them. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm not going back to rewatch to care. But I did rewind the scene a couple times to make sure I had the information straight on how the killer came to be. This is almost a Friday the 13th situation here, where Pamela Voorhees being the killer at the end of like, at least Joanne was introduced into the movie a little bit, unlike Pamela. But regardless, she's the killer, and you're like, who? Oh yeah, that chick? What? And so what happened was, when she was a young girl, like 16 or 17 or something, she murdered her father to protect her sister, whose name was actually Joanne. And Joanne then went into a psychiatric hospital and died there 20 years ago. And then her sister, who is the mom killer in this, took on her name. And then when her daughter came of a similar age and any man had any interaction with her, she was trying to save her from the terrible men. Should be a Lifetime movie. That I don't know, I guess remind her of her father, anyone who wants to touch her daughter, which that's sucky because her daughter is fairly promiscuous. So it's her promiscuity that gets people killed. Oh, there's a freaking little video you should show in class. This is, yeah, sex kills, kids. Don't do it. Don't do it. Your mom will murder him because she had a sister back when she was, when she was a kid, and she killed for her, and then she became her. It's so like shoehorned in last minute. Like, how do we give her a backstory? Oh, she had a fucking twin or a sister, and she took over her name, and when she came back to town, people were like, is that you? And the one guy, I think he's like a freaking, I don't know what the hell he is, a mayor or something. I recognize him from other films. But he's, is he the Jaws? Is that who that is? Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. But he's like, you look better than my wife. Let's fuck. I mean, he doesn't say that outright, but he says that outright. And then we get a Melissa has a knife, one of those, daggers there, and a scary face. She's trying to put on her best sleepaway camp face here, which is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And it plays the Melissa song again, which I never want to fucking hear in my entire life again. What a terrible movie. What a stupid ass slasher film. But it was fun to talk about nonetheless. Any fans of this one? Because if so, you are an idiot. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. I have terrible taste, objectively. I really do. I've noticed that. So if you dig this, I understand. I have shitty taste too. All right, guys. See you next week.